Welcome, everybody. And Lily has joined us because Greg is in jury duty.
He's doing his civic duty.
Civic duty. You know, as lawyers, I don't know. I've been on jury duty. I've got in Georgia. I seem to get called every couple of years. Never served on a jury.
I tried my hardest to get picked for a jury last year, but I didn't quite make it.
I did a criminal trial in Somerville where we had so many lawyers on the panel that we ended up picking 3. So we had a law professor, a retired civil litigator, and a 3L law student on the panel. So not guilty, baby.
My partner Danielle actually served on a 6-month grand jury.
Oh, yeah, that's intense.
Here in Georgia, and in a very prominent case that got a lot of press. Of course, they don't release the name of the grand jurors, but 6 months. She was on that thing, 3 days a week.
Commitment.
It was crazy. Welcome, everybody, to Impact Litigation and our update today. First piece of news is that last night, Aaron, we filed our amended complaint in the DV 2022 case.
Yeah, the arguments stay the same. What we did was we added a few plaintiffs. I think it was 8, and then added defendants. The consulates where those new plaintiffs are coming on, because we named each consulate in our complaint as defendants. And now we see how fast they're willing to produce an administrative record, right?
So we served them already, the original complaint. So their 60 days are running. I will be reaching out later today or tomorrow to the U.S. Attorney in D.C., Civil Division Chief, to find out who is assigned to the case. I could just call, the guy that is normally been assigned to our cases, but I don't want to presume that he's gotten this. And my guess is they may not have assigned it yet. And we're going to ask see if they'll give us an expedited record in this case.
When you guys are talking about the administrative record, maybe there are folks wondering, what is that and why are we so excited to get it?
What is an administrative record?
So when you are suing the government about decisions that they have made or actions that they have taken, you're entitled to see basically what happened behind the scenes. Database records, communications, policy memos, anything that the government has that is relevant to what it is that you're suing about. And so sometimes in some of our previous cases, we found some pretty interesting things. For example, internal communication saying the opposite of what they're saying to the outside world, or data that they haven't published yet. So we want to see, what's going on behind the scenes for DV 22 when they're telling courts, we're prioritizing, we're front loading DV 2022 so that we can later do, the overflow from prior years. Is that right? We know it's a lie, but what's actually happening? We want to see it.
Now, the government's position formally will likely be no, as my guess. We're going to file a motion to dismiss. All right. So I would ask them, I would then ask, well, can you file one? When can you file one? I mean, they have a legal right to do that. We can also file our motion for summary judgment now. We can file our motion, but then they would file a motion to dismiss, and that would go nowhere. But we've done this before. We're going to be moving aggressively on this quickly here for DV 2022. But what's quite obvious is they are simply not adjudicating cases. They're just not adjudicating them. I mean,
the January stats came out the other day, and
it's not good.
It's not good. No,
it was no. I mean, they're on. I think they're on course to do 3,000 DVs this year.
It's actually after January. They're on course for 5,534.
Oh, a whole 10%.
Ratcheting up so that is just 10.2% of available visas. Doing the quick math in my head because I went to law school, not math school, so it does take me a while. So that's it on that. We'll be following up with our plaintiffs on that, and of course we're fighting for our plaintiffs on this because that's what they do in Judge Maida's courtroom. All right, let's take a look. I think it's really important to talk about the EB-5 litigation. We put up our official EB-5 notice thingy here, which I can't find anywhere. I have way too many banners here. Is what I have on my thing. All right, I'm just gonna delete a banner here and put in it because this system only lets you put in 50 banners, and I've used all 50 banners in here. All right, so there we go. We got the EB5 litigation. So we were planning on filing right before we found out that Congress was going to likely update the law. They, in fact, did update the law. President Biden has not signed the law, however, yet. We anticipate.
Sorry for those of you who received an email from me saying that he had. I saw he signed the omnibus bill over the weekend, but not
I don't think he has.
the piece that includes
I
this.
could be wrong, but I don't think he has. Nonetheless, we are now looking at this litigation in a very different aspect. And that the reason for that is the basis of the litigation is really 610, which is them violating the law in not adjudicating applications when the law didn't give them that right to not adjudicate applications. That is now gone. 610 is gone. It does no longer exist. It has been repealed in its entirety and replaced with a new system of adjudication and processing for EB5 regional centers. But the current system in which all of our clients find themselves is grandfathered. And grandfathered simply means that the old laws still apply to you. So you will not be judged by the new laws unless you need to be. For example, if your regional center disappeared, I think you do get the advantage of that. So we are looking at, is this an appropriate group mandamus action using their failure to properly previously interpret 610 the correct way? So 610 is still there, although it no longer exists, but they use it as a basis to delay adjudication for years, and certainly since last July and previous suspensions. And, they need to be held accountable for that. So we'll be holding a call with our EB5 clients on Thursday. Lily, what time is that? Is that 11 a.m. Eastern?
11 a.m. Eastern, so that'll be 10 Central, quite late at night for those of you in China, and evening for those of you in India.
In China, right? I think it's 12 hours to most of Eastern China.
That's right.
All right, so we'll be doing that live. Matt Galati will be joining us on that live stream. Greg will be here. I presume he'll be done with jury duty by then and appropriately release an innocent person, should that be the jury he ends up sitting on. So that's kind of where we are on that.
And in the meantime, it's because we haven't filed yet, we can accept new plaintiffs. So if you go to impactlitigation.com, you'll see it's still on the onboarding cases. We haven't updated all of the language, but you can read the latest update about our new strategy, and we do welcome new folks to sign up this week.
That's right. And we also we'll be getting in touch with our prior EB5 clients from last year as well, and telling them what their options are on this litigation. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Aaron, our EAD litigation is sitting
with Judge Leon, and I still expect a decision on the motion to dismiss to coming soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we get it this week. Famous last words. It'll probably be a while now, but the fact that he wanted to take care of that before moving on to class certification, to me, indicated that he was close to ready to move on it. So we'll see.
Okay. So we, obviously we're just kind of sitting here with bated breath to see if he'll let us proceed on this case, or if we have to get new plaintiffs and file again, because on their website, they're telling adjustment of status applicants that it's taking 14 to 18 months to adjudicate their EADs.
It just backed up, didn't it? It just changed the other day.
Yeah, I just got a screenshot. There it is, 14 to 18 months. Just completely bananas on this kind of stuff. And I do want to give an update on our H1B lottery abuse case. Clearly, the lottery ends on Friday for this year, the registration. I'm getting word from folks that I know on the inside that they're really looking very closely at multiple applications for single people. And I suspect that, I can't tell you this for sure, I suspect there's going to be a lot of investigatory work done by FDNS that's going to result in a lot of disqualifications for applications. And and that is only happening because we sued them. That is the only reason that is happening. On our K1 suits, we for K1 London, K1 Rio, and K1 Manila, we are waiting with bated breath for those judges. On K1 Moscow, with our singular plaintiff left, where Judge Maida is probably just going to sit on it. He stayed the case for 30 days. So that is done. So that would allow the visa to be issued in Warsaw for that client, and that case will then be dismissed. But on the other cases, we're still waiting for those courts. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to put London on there. For Manila, Rio, and London. That's kind of where we are on those cases.
I'm still seeing a trickle of updates from our Manila folks, of folks getting interviews and getting visas issued. Again, not as fast as we would like, but congratulations to the folks who have contacted me over the past week. I'm really happy to see good news for some of you who have been waiting a really long time. It's awful. I mean, it's just awful. Aaron, was it you that pointed out that some consulate issued 3,900 visitor visas? It might have been Curtis. I mean, I don't know who did this online, but no DVs. So 4,000 visitor visas and no DVs. You got to keep the tourism industry in Florida alive. Apparently, you've got to keep it alive at the expense of everything else. I just don't get consulates. I don't understand why they're not doing the job they did pre-pandemic, like all the rest of us are. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense at all. There are no other legislative updates, as far as I know. Greg's not here, but I followed this along with Greg, and there's nothing. There's no movement on anything in Congress. You know, the famous Meng Amendment. There's nothing. They're not going to touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole before the election. But they gave ICE more money.
Although, it's interesting you mentioned that. And I'm not here to defend ICE or the money ICE gets, but with inflation, they actually got the same. So they were given more money, but they weren't technically really given any more money. They're not growing because of this money. And basically, it maintains their operations, which we both think are awful, Lily. So, but it's not. Oh my God, he's funding ICE. Like, Joe Biden is not going to defund ICE. Let's be clear about that. This administration is the Trump administration. It's the same people running the same things. Period. So, there you have it. Is there anything else that we're litigating on? We need to give an update on. I don't think so. I think we've got everything we need. By the way, on the EAD case, guys, if we have to refile, we'll let you know, so we can add 100 more plaintiffs. We'll go back to court, because that's why we did the class action, so we wouldn't have to do that. But they want to do it. We'll go back to court and let them prove 100 more cases in a couple months. It's just outrageous that would have to happen. All right, let's take a look at some questions. We have a couple comments or questions here, both from Rohit. This is going to be a quick update today. Hey, Rohit, how are you doing? Plaintiff Chakrabarty. Oh, thank you. All right, thank you. The answer to your question, Rohit, is yes.
Put the question up.
Yes, this is. Let me put the banner up here. This is. I actually may have deleted the Chakrabarty banner, but let me create a new banner here, so I can. Oh, not Doc. Push the wrong one here. We're gonna do EB wastage. That's a way to call it, right? EB wastage by USCIS. I gotta not spell it. US sucks. All right.
While you're typing that, now, am I crazy? Didn't they promise they were going to use them all?
On Twitter, they sure did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They said we are now capable of using every one of these visas.
What happened?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think that would be appropriately answered in a deposition, don't you? Mm-hmm. I think get our Urchadu or Tracy Renault on the stand and ask them who tweeted that. What anonymous employee put you in this bind? Oh, that was you. So yes, Rohit, great question. We are planning on doing that. We obviously need to see the first quarter numbers, and they were atrocious. And here's the thing. They were telling Charlie Oppenheim that, we'll be able to get through all these numbers this year. We're going to need to get, more numbers in here. But this explains why they haven't moved the visa bulletin. Because if they were going to use all the numbers, Well, they've got to have next year's numbers ready, right? They've got to, get them filed now so they can do them in next fiscal year. They only have enough EAD adjustments to do the numbers they have. So if they technically used all the adjustments pending, they'd be done.
And what's all this about them encouraging people to switch categories again?
So that's a great issue, Lily. So I reached
totally
out
misfired.
to some contacts who then talked to Charlie on our behalf. And they think that they cannot move the numbers all into one category in how they interpret the law. I think that's wrong. They think it's the plain language of the law. I do not see that. I mean, the plain language is that the number shall be assigned regardless of category. So that will be part of our lawsuit too. This idea that they have to take the percentages, 40, 40, 40, 20, 20, whatever those percentages are, of the total numbers and apply them to rollover numbers is wrong. Plus, the rollover numbers don't even go to SB4, to EB4s or to EB5. So this is what makes no sense here at all. And them telling people to file frivolous NIWs. Hey, yes, let's do an NIW for a pilot. So you got a pilot license and 5 hours of experience? Sure, that's an NIW. It's crazy about what they're doing on this stuff. My guess is when we see year-end denial rates on EB2s and EB1s for extraordinary ability, I think we're going to see the highest denial rates ever. Not because immigration is changing the criteria, although they kind of are, but because it's just garbage being filed.
And we're starting to get inquiries from folks saying, "Oh, I heard that there was a special program for pilots. Be careful if it sounds too good to be true. It might be. Get a second opinion."
There are a couple law firms in Florida selling this idea, because we have a shortage of pilots. Well, we do have a shortage of pilots. We have a shortage of doctors. We have a shortage of people plucking chicken. We have lots of shortages. That doesn't mean it's in our national interest. In fact, the only agency that has legal authority to cut the labor cert line is Department of Labor, and they still only have 2 jobs in that category: physical therapists and nurses. So
let me flag something for people. Last year, for people who were involved or following Chakrabarty, they'll remember how the case was handled by the court. And then it was dispersed all over the country, and then some of the courts actually made decisions on motions to dismiss, I think. But one thing I wanted to flag is there's a case before the U.S. Supreme Court right now called Patel v. Garland, and that was argued in December. We could get a decision any time, and that is about what authority courts have to issue decisions about discretionary decisions. So, an adjustment of status application, for example, is discretionary, and generally you don't get judicial review of that. But there are things within a discretionary decision, legal determinations, which you should get judicial review over. And that case is going to have implications on these arguments. And if it goes the way I think that it's going to go, and that I hope that it's going to go, then the courts in the next round of litigation are not going to have that easy, it's an adjustment of status case, we're going to dismiss it argument. The Supreme Court may take that away from them, which will be good news for all of our litigants.
I don't see how the Supreme Court comes out any other way, honestly, because this case came out of an 11th Circuit decision where I live. It was a case run by great lawyers, our dear friend Eric Kurzban and his firm, and it is truly one of the worst legal decisions I've ever read. I mean, it's awful. It's like, really, it seems like, hey, let's write a decision so we can have less cases to adjudicate. Mm-hmm. That's what this decision was like.
Which sounds familiar from how Chakrabarty was handled.
Exactly right.
So.
Now, where would we file such a case? Well, probably not in Maryland, but we'll see. And would we file it as a class action? That eliminates the government's ability to separate the case out in a multi-plaintiff case. So we'll be touching base on that in the next month or so. We're coming up on the end of this quarter, and that would be 6 months into it's crazy, right? We're 6 months into the fiscal year, and we're not going to, of course, get the government numbers for a couple months. We're not going to wait for that, but we'll have a pretty good idea on visa usage by then. And then we'll get out the call for plaintiffs and we'll go for it. I think this will be fun to litigate these guys again. It's just, and honestly, maybe we file in Maryland and get before the same judge. Judge, you literally cannot get rid of this guy. We will keep coming back here and haunt you to your grave.
Especially if you tell us you filed too late last time, well, we'll be in your court a little earlier this year. We'll give you plenty of time to,
right.
we're still talking over the strategies, and you may see other firms are researching and discussing it as well.
So, Rohit, yes, we were not going to be filing. Last year was kind of a last-minute ask by plaintiffs. That's why it was filed so late. It wasn't because we delayed or anything. We just kind of, nobody really knew, really understood they were going through this massive wage change, and now we know that they are. So we got that. And, of course, the consulates, who normally would use about 10 to 15% of EB numbers, are doing no EBs. Very few consulates are doing EB cases around the world. So, Joe Puccini, many protests pressed by anti-extremism. I don't know what that is referring to. I assume Russia is what we're talking about here. And did you see that young employee of Russia, of Media One?
Yeah, brave woman.
Yeah.
Really brave.
I don't know if you saw her video that she recorded after that or before that, before she went in. She's on Twitter. The woman's a hero. It's just absolutely remarkable type of thing to do. Timeline. Rohit asks all the questions today. Thank you, Rohit. You'll probably be hearing from us in the next 30 days at the most. Okay. I think USCIS numbers are probably accurate. It states I don't trust their numbers, but I think CIS's numbers are pretty accurate because, they do run a DOS-based system, so it's not like stuff's easy to fix. Let's see. If they intend to use all of that, how come the dates are not moving fast? Dates are moving at all.
Indeed.
At all. And that's what makes no sense, because you would have thought instead of freezing or retrogressing in October, they said we need to get another 100,000 cases in here, open it up. But they're not. They're absolutely not. All right. Many Russians pressed by the police department after opposition meetings. Now they can get 600. Russian asylum. That's a great Russian asylum. That's a good question. We all do asylum cases. We do a lot of different stuff at all of our firms. Russians would have obviously a claim for that. I think that's a solid political opinion claim. Probably be granted.
I'm working on one right now.
When you're interviewed. Lily, which office? Do you work at a Chicago asylum office or Houston?
New Orleans. Most of our cases are in New Orleans.
And so
although I have some.
How long are they delayed?
So you'll either have an interview within 2 months or never. Basically, the asylum offices switched from doing cases more or less first in, first out, not strictly, but more or less. So you would wait 2 to 3 years for an interview, to having most of their interviews be for recently filed cases, and then any extra slots they have, they're filling from the backlog going backwards. So I have cases I filed in early 2017 that are at the back of the line and have no hope for interview.
Your back of the line is 5 years.
Yes.
So my back of the line is 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Out of the Arlington Asylum Office. How about you, Aaron?
Well, I was at, we're out of the Houston Asylum Office, and the interview I was at last week or the week before the case was filed in 2016.
So
how about the same?
6 years. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Arlington is probably the worst backlot office.
Oh, this was expedited too. They granted an expedite.
Oh, let me ask you about that after we get off. I have one in Arlington that I may need to expedite.
So no, they will not be. If they can get now. What's happening at the border with Mexico? What's happening is a lot of Ukrainians and Russians are flying to Mexico and then going to the border, and CBP was turning them away. And there's a lot of press now starting to pay attention at the border again. What are you turning our allies away for? What are you taking people that are protesting Russia away from? In Russia, there are other asylum claims besides political opinion. If you are a conservative Christian, like an evangelical Christian, or you're a Jew, the Lautenberg Amendment was just reauthorized. That's basically, an easy refugee/asylum process. So
LGBTQ folks as well. We've done a couple of cases for queer folks out of Russia who, you would have hoped in the last few years that situation would have gotten better, but as far as I can tell,
hey, CD Man, one of our friendly clients from Manila says that they processed less than half of the number of cases this year than the month before. There's
Yeah, it's-
literally no excuse for that.
We've seen some kind of up and down. They were sort of steadily increasing their K1s through the summer, and then since then it's been sort of not a good pattern.
It doesn't make any sense at all. Is the Durbin Grass litigation bill as good as dead? At this point, I don't see that they can pass that unless they attach it to must-pass. It's not going to pass on its own, so it's got to be attached to some piece of must-pass legislation. And I just don't know what that is. The omnibus bill, which is all the government spending, now is passed. So there's no spending bill coming up that I'm aware of, which is what this might normally be attached to. So I would suspect they're going to put it in their back pocket and hold it until something comes along. Remember, this Congress is in session until January 2 of 2023. Most good immigration legislation that's passed in the last 30 years has passed in the lame duck session, which is after the election in November. Those 45 days when they're in D.C. Tend to be, maybe times people can vote their conscience. We'll see. Will the new Chakrabarty? We will change the name for Mr. Chakrabarty's purposes. We don't know. That might make sense for us to do that in the context of keeping jurisdiction where we need to keep it. Possible to lobby through K time limits, like if K1 and I should have 1 year from violating the issue. Generally speaking, the FAM gives this consular officers the authority to keep the petition alive until they can issue the visa. But once the visa is issued, you only have 90 days to use it. I guess I'm kind of confused about the question. Lily, do you see a different answer than what I gave to that?
I think that the question is maybe if the consulate has the case for more than a year, can they just automatically issue the visa? That would be awesome.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? But that's zero chance of the FAM. That's the kind of case that a judge would not get involved in. He would say, look, that's internal processing of the agency. I'm not going to tell them, Judge Maida is famous. I'm not going to tell them how to run their agency. I will tell them when they're breaking the law, however, and there's no law that says they can't do that. So this is a good question because we have a lot of Go plaintiffs that are waiting to see if they're picked. They're part of the Go process. Can you get a non-immigrant visa? Sure. You can go apply for a non-immigrant visa. Absolutely. There's absolutely do it. People keep asking me, can they apply for adjustment of status if they got to the U.S. under the Go decision? My answer is no to that question because, one, we didn't sue the USCIS. And as far as USCIS is concerned, that case is not final. There's no final judgment in that case. And because there's no final judgment in the case, there's no adjustment of status available to you, to that. All right. I don't have any other questions here. It is always a joy. Oh, keep our EB wastage thing up there. It's always a joy to see you. Greg will join us next week. Aaron, are you live this week at all?
Yep, we're on Thursday at noon Mountain Time.
And I'll be live Wednesday at 5 o'clock after I'm physically exhausted from teaching my classes at Emory Law School. Lily, are you live at all?
I am not sure. Our normal live time is this afternoon, but I believe because of
Greg already said I'm not going live today. Although it would be cool if he was on his phone in the lobby of the courtroom waiting to get called into jury duty.
Voir dire is fun. It would be interesting to live stream it if they would let us.
It would. All right, you guys have a wonderful day.
Have a good one.
Well,
Bye-bye.